after, in a private talk, I agreed with Jordan Peterson, who said, why not, I'm not ashamed to get money, and we, you know where we understood each other. I wonder if you would agree. When somebody say, but you care about money, this is not money, well, usually middle classes who feel guilty say this. All the real working class people that I know, hell, oh, you get a chance to get some money, grab it, do it, enjoy it, you know. This is typical middle class feeling guilty, you know, like you must suffer and so on.
The only question he had, by his own admission, is like, why don't you make more money? You could be, if you drop the maximum.
That's sincerely, but you know,
yeah.
Sorry, no, just to explain, I really gave money, but it's not really charity. I hate charities. Charities are how the ultra-rich people justify their wealth, you know. Didn't you get the joke? I made my half-an-hour speech totally without reference to him, totally unprepared, because I get from some spies the news that he will focus. This was his big mistake. He could have been much better. I even told him afterwards, jokingly, you know, because the myth is he has some mysterious advisors who read everything for him. Where were these ingenious advisors? I told him, if we were to spare also your honorarium, he could have asked me, and you know, I could have given him all my past scenes where I defend Trotsky terror and so on. Yeah. And this will be the only other, I wasn't able to develop it there fully, reference to the unfortunate Jordan Peterson debate, where when I was dealing with that, his famous lobster problem or whatever, no? My point was that human sexuality is like, if you were unfortunate enough to listen to the parts, that part was the original one, I really liked it. When I improvised about French cuisine, you know, which is very dialectical. Okay, French cuisine, now it's losing, but when I was young, it was the model of haute cuisine, of high refined eating. But if you look at it closely, most of their dishes are failure turned into success. They were making cheese, they got lazy, cheese got rotten, and they say, oh my God, let's sell this. They were making wine, something went wrong with fermentation, oh, we get champagne, you know, and so on. Practically all French dishes can be explained in this way. And typically, Jordan Peterson, okay, he didn't have time, didn't go into this because that's my point against his lobster, we are biologically predetermined, and so on and so on. But listen, it wasn't a serious debate, and I don't blame him. We simply talked beside each other. But what I wanted to make him see is that, yes, I accept all that stuff, how, my God, of course we are in some sense biologically predetermined. You maybe know the percentage better than me, but I think that if you take highly developed chimpanzees, I don't know which, our DNA is like 98, 99% the same. But I think here we must be dialectical. The point is, of course, we are absolutely almost determined, but human spirit means that all these features remain operative, but they are, I'm sorry for this complex word, they are trans-functionalized into serving, getting caught nonetheless in a totally different symbolic logic. For example, and here I drew, I don't know if it worked there, the parallel with French cuisine. With all the similarity, and yes, we are sexually predetermined and so on, our sexual life. But, for example, imagine something like courtly love, which is from the logic of biological mating and sexual reproduction, totally suicidal, meaningless. You make the most passionate love affair of an encounter where you basically endlessly postpone the act. Or take the basic feature, the basic perversion of human sexuality. You take something which at best, if you take sexuality as something biologically determined, that third procreation should have been just, you know, before we do it, bam, bam, I like to squeeze you, to touch you in this way, which should be just a tiny element of foreplay, but it can become the focus of life. So that's where I don't get it, and especially, you know, what I forgot to tell him, it would have been a nice argument. He claims how nonetheless hierarchies are based on real competencies, no? Well, he attacks so much academia, where he is isolated, no? And I wanted to ask him, at least he should agree that American and Canadian academia, your power there is definitely not based in real competence, you know. No, it's simply, you know what he doesn't get? Competence is a socially determined dialectical category. For example, to succeed as a banker. Yes, you have to be competent, but competent for what? For cheating, for these cheap strategic games, and so on and so on.
When it came to debating Peterson, you performed this distinction you make between manners and political correctness, and you were spontaneously really well mannered.
Yeah, but didn't you notice? Sorry again to interrupt.
No,
that's how
interrupt.
I confused him. He afterwards told me that after the introductory half an hour by me, and he confirmed this to me, his hands were shaking. Because he expected me a hardline Marxist or whatever, and he was totally at a loss, and so on, you know. Because, again, my point was not to fight him, just this, although I did in my half an hour go through all the points. My point was to give this basic message, you know. You can be reasonable, tolerant, but you can still be for communism, a radical leftist, and so on and so on. And that was, I think, the way to do it there.
No, in fact, when I was watching it, I was thinking.
I cannot stand I didn't watch it.
You did plan it really well. I realized actually that in your, you know, in the interview you gave to RT for your 70th birthday, one of the many other big events that happened since we last saw him. He's 70th, look a day older, obviously. But that's basically, you said that you would address the audience like Kennedy did in the Nixon debate. And I thought it was so shrewd. I mean, you were generous, but also very shrewd. Almost like I was thinking about Themistocles when he, in the Peloponnesian War, when he made sure Xerxes came and fought the outnumbered Greek ships in the narrow straits of Salamis, even though the Persians were outnumbered. I mean, what Themistocles did, he sent his slave the day before to Xerxes and say, I'm on your side, Themistocles is actually a traitor, so what you need to do is go and attack the Greeks whilst they're still in Salamis, otherwise they run away. And Xerxes thought, oh great, yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
This was the Peloponnesian War.
So he went straight into the trap.
This was the Peloponnesian War.
And
Themistocles was, didn't he change sides later? At that point he was still Athenian.
He would. It's a lesson for all of us. We'll be watching you. But at that point, it was a real ruse like Xerxes fellow. And I think that's what you did with Peterson. You brought him into your pattern, into your schedule. And he didn't know what to do with that. And well, one of the stupidest things I think he said was that you are a mystery to him. I mean, like someone who completely transparent.
To be sarcastic, I should have snapped back, but you are unfortunately no mystery for me. No, but I wanted to be polite. Now, I'm not saying who cares about, I'm not talking now about an essential femininity and so on. But there are nonetheless certain ideological configurations which define how we perceive femininity, masculinity. But my temptation would be this one, to say femininity is not simply more understanding and so on, that masculinity and femininity in our historical tradition are defined by a certain duality tension. Just this tension is different, already at the level of most stupid, superficial prejudices. Did you notice how this is male chauvinist ideology? But it's typical how it's already a tension into each position. According to traditional male chauvinist ideology, men are at the same time, do you have these stupid proverbs? We in Slovene have them, that women just talk blah blah emptily, man is a man of his word. Men really mean it. So again, men are more stable, women are blah blah, flirting, lying, whatever. But at the same time, this cliché is supplemented by the opposite one, which is women are more stable for home, order. And this is again where but we didn't have time to go it, where I had another question for John Peterson. His point is, man is order, women are disorder. Even at the level of cliches, this is not true. It is true only in this male chauvinist sense, that men are order in the sense of participating in male chauvinist view in public order and so on. Women are unreliable, blah, blah, flirting, you cannot trust them. But at the same time, women stand for family, stability, taking care of. Men are the adventurers. Like this is big male chauvinist topic. Like I already quoted it, or you find the chapter, which I quite like, of myself, one of the few, on Schiller, the Bell song, the most disgusting proto-fascist song, which describes normal order, women stay at home, man goes around, adventurer, brings the wealth home, women takes care of it, and then his explanation of the French Revolution, women also went out. Strictly, women are guilty for revolutionary terror and so on and so on. But what is correct in this view, which is disgusting, is that it at least locates in both identities, masculine and feminine. It doesn't define them by a certain feature, but by a certain tension. They both have a tension in themselves. Women are Ismena versus Antigona. Men, I will not go into it now, men have a different tension.